And today we are going to create a stylized bird, and that bird is actually going to be inspired by the author Matt Spink. He created a book called Some Birds, and his style is very stylized for his illustrations, and he has many different ways of creating these stylized birds. When I use the word stylized, I am talking about creating something that's a little bit more simplified than what you would see in a realistic copy of a bird. So if I were going to make an artwork and I wanted it to look real, I would include a lot more details, and the eyes wouldn't be larger than real life, or the legs wouldn't be longer than real life, and then the colors would be realistic. When a bird is stylized, you don't have to do those things. You can make larger eyes, you can make shorter feet, you can make it extra colorful and filled with patterns. So we're going to be doing the stylized bird this time. And to get started, you're going to want to make sure you have a blank sheet of paper. You may want to use a pencil. I'm going to be drawing in a marker, but if you want to draw in pencil, you can do that. I'm going to draw with the black marker, and then I am using colored pencils to add the color in the last step. So when you get started, you're going to start with the beak first. And you want to put it up a little bit closer to the top, and then also make sure you don't put it here in the middle, but start over to the right side of the paper. So I'm just gonna make it kind of curvy. If you just want to do a regular triangle, you can certainly do that. And then I'm gonna add the nostril in there. Okay, so there's my beak. Now, when I do the back of the bird, I'm actually gonna put my hand down as a spacer first, and then I'm gonna start at the beak here, and I'm gonna come around my hand without touching it, and come down almost to my wrist and kind of swoop out at the end. Now it gives me a decent size to the body. And then the belly, you're basically gonna do the same thing here. You're gonna start at the beak, and you're gonna come down and around, and then you're gonna meet up at the tail. All right, so after you've done that, you can add in the face. You can make the eye as big as you want to. I'm gonna start kind of with this line here, and then I'm gonna make a really big eye, like that. The wing, you can make it any shape you want. I usually make it pointy at the end and have it come out kind of behind the face like that. And then when you do the legs, you can make them as long or as short as you want. All right, after you have the legs drawn, you can add in some feather details if you want. You don't have to. You could do the feathers coming kind of off the top of the head here. You could also do the feathers coming off the tail. There are some different styles. You could do the swirls, you could do circles, you could just do kind of a scribbly swirl, loopy loops, or even more of like a feather shape. So that, again, is up to you. So I could do kind of a swirly shape there. Looks like I smeared my paper a little bit. You can do the same thing for both, or you can do different feather styles. That's up to you too. When you're done doing the feathers, then you're gonna add in the patterns. Now, the patterns are oftentimes called Zentangles when you start adding a lot of patterns in together to create one drawing. So in this bird, I use a lot of different patterns. So the wing might have its own pattern, or maybe even 2 or 3. The body can have lots of different patterns, the face can have patterns, but it's a lot of repeated lines that are really close together. So I have some examples. Any kind of line that you can make can become a pattern. So I could start simple. I could do a straight line and make a pattern using a straight line. I could do a bumpy line. That's going to kind of give you that feather look. I could use a zigzag line, and I like to do the zigzag line where it has straight lines first, and then I zigzag between them. Now, however many times you want to change your patterns is up to you. The more patterns you include, I think the more interesting it becomes, and it looks more like a Zentangle that way. If you only do 1 or 2 very basic patterns, it's not going to have that Zentangle look when you're done. You can use the same pattern more than once. So if you really like a certain pattern and you want to use it in more than one place, go right ahead. All right, so I've kind of got the body done here. I think on the back, I'm going to do a loop line. And then up here at the top, I'm going to do this sort of rainbow pattern. And do it from both sides. On the wing here, I could do sort of these rectangles pattern. That's one that you see in the illustrations for the Some Birds book. Kind of looks like almost like rectangle feathers. I'm also gonna do, let's see, I'll do one that kind of looks like a feather. So that way the tip of the wing looks like a feather. And kind of layer it back in behind the rectangles. And then for the face, make it kind of almost like a flower shape around the eyes. And then maybe I'll do some wavy lines above and below. All right, so once you have all of your patterns, then you can move on to coloring. So when you color, think about coloring in a pattern as well. So I might decide to do something where I want to do stripes in 2 different colors. So when I do that, I use the first color and I do color one and then I skip one and then I color one and then I skip one. So that works really well when you're coloring a pattern like this to save a space, and then I can pick a second color to fill in those spaces that I skipped. You could choose to color a pattern with just one color. I personally like to do them with more than one color. You can definitely color every single space on the bird like I've shown here. You could also choose to make white part of your pattern and leave certain parts of it white as well. So that's how you do your stylized bird. I hope you have fun. I will see you later.